everybody. This is Laura Hendrickson from Open Ocean Marketing. We have Jeromy Shanks here today from Sales for Life. Thank you, Jeromy, for being here. Really appreciate it, and looking forward to our talk and summit on online sales funnel experts. So welcome. If you would just say hello and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into online sales funnels and all that good stuff.
Fantastic. So my name is Jeromy Shanks. I'm the CEO of Sales for Life, and we do one thing better than anybody else in the world, and we enable sales teams and sales organizations to be able to become modern and digital sellers. So what that really means is powering that team through tools like video and LinkedIn and Twitter to be able to engage their customers in a bold and different way. And so that's what we do. And from a marketing perspective, years and years ago, we understood the power of content marketing as a demand generation powerhouse to be able to fuel the conversation of sales, and that we couldn't just be reliant on our sellers to hit sales quota attainment by themselves. We needed to create a magnet internally, and I'm a big believer that the more that you teach people, ironically, the more that opportunity comes your way. Excellent.
Good. So if some of you are just joining us, I want to just remind you that Jeromy's got a walking desk at this point, and that's why he's moving back and forth. So if you didn't catch that earlier, that's he's on his exerciser, which is awesome. I think more of us need to be doing that. But anyway, getting into what we're talking about today with online sales funnels. You talk a little bit about, did some research with what you're doing, social selling. Talk a little bit about that process and what that means exactly.
What it really means, and the only reason it's been called social selling, is to help people understand that there's a new complement to a sales motion. And so social selling originally meant applying social media into your sales day-to-day activities or cadence. So that meant, in a business-to-business world, as an example, you would use LinkedIn to be able to select accounts that meet your criteria, plan your key account strategies, and then, of course, engage your customer. And over the years, people stopped calling it social selling as much because social media is just one tool in your tool belt. And what it really now, some companies like Microsoft call it modern selling, and IBM as well. Some call it digital selling. What it really means is that the phone, like cold calling and email, was a medium of the 20th century, and that there are new, bold, and different ways to engage customers. And as you can see, we're on video. Every single call of every single customer of ours, whether it's a service customer or service call or it's a prospective call, we're always on video because we believe in humanizing the conversation.
Excellent. Yes, and that is one thing that everybody is becoming more and more aware of. We hear it all the time, but video is so important and critical, and getting to know who we are, and we're, the boundaries of what we look like and who we are as people. I think that in general, we're getting more humanized in the sense that, yeah, we're not going to show up beautiful and gorgeous looking every single time that we show up, but at the same time, just the fact that we're showing up on a consistent manner is so critical to who we are and our brand, and just getting out there in front of everybody. So you've written some books here, but you mentioned something here. It says helpful resources that guide the buyer towards their ideal solution. What are some key elements with these guides related to landing pages and call to actions for digital marketing?
Yeah, the easiest, so the evolution of it, it used to be where there was a very programmatic create a blog drove a call to action to perhaps an ebook. People would read the ebook. There'd be a call to action to it, in which you filled in a form, downloaded that information. That information was fed into your marketing automation software. We use HubSpot today. And then it kicks out a lead for your sales team to follow up with. That was a model of the 2010s up until a few years ago. That was the most common way to create organic inbound leads. The challenge with that model is that people got sick of it. Like, people knew over time, when we started webinars, 50% attendance was normal. Then that went to 33%. Then that went to 25% because people knew they can get it on demand. And people knew that when they filled in that form, they would be getting a call within 60 seconds, and that drove them mental. So the world has evolved to more of a ClickFunnels model, and Gary Vaynerchuk said it years ago in his book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. Basically what it meant was, I'm going to give value, and then I'm going to give value again, and keep giving value, and I'm going to earn your trust along a journey before I really start collecting massive amounts of data on you. But if I continue to give enough value, you will happily give your data over to us because we've earned that right. And so what you'll notice, at least from us, is we're putting out more videos that don't necessarily, or we're putting out content that is not gated. And we're putting out videos that don't have to always drive to a call to action. It's more of just, I am going to give an immense amount of information, and you'll eventually find your way into our database and hopefully a customer one day.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I find that really interesting. I've got a couple of other situations where I've been in front of people that are doing YouTube channels and these other things, and ultimately that's a similar kind of message that they're saying, is that their customers or just individuals are watching them on a consistent basis, to the point when they finally do make that phone call, they almost feel like they know you, even though it might be that initial phone call. So I think that's really relevant for people to understand. Can you describe a sample case study of using social selling tactics?
From a sales perspective, and I know your audience, maybe take your marketing hat off for a second and put a sales hat on. I'm going to talk to you about a major challenge. And I'll tell it through a story. So I speak at 20 or 30 events a year at sales kickoffs and quarterly business reviews. And I asked a sales professional from the audience to come up to the front of the stage and tell their story in front of their entire sales organization. What are the top 5 accounts that they're going after right now? The gentleman came up to the front of the stage, grabbed the microphone. He was an account executive, and he said, I sell into the health and wellness space. And this was a company that sold the software. The top 5 customers of mine, the number 1 is Peloton, the bicycle company. So great. Well, why did you choose Peloton? He turned directly to his chief revenue officer, looked him dead in the eyes, and he said, because my chief revenue officer rides a Peloton every day, and he thought it would be a good account for us to win. So that is a general funny story for how the average sales professional uses subjectivity to select accounts. They use they're the most market share in my industry, most revenue, most employees, they're a sexy logo, but at no point did they reverse engineer what we would call an asymmetrical competitive advantage, meaning the number 1 competitive advantage that people can't take away from you are relationships. Your competition struggles against relationships. So imagine if you took all your best customers and reverse engineered those for what we call the sphere of influence, meaning what is the social connectivity or relationships between one company and the next? And if you did that in a geographic territory or in a vertical, you'd start to realize that there were accounts that were best suited for you to target because, as an example, the chief marketing officer of the company you just finished a project with up and leaves and goes to another company. Your asymmetrical competitive advantage over your competitors is so much greater. The probability you can activate that account is so much greater than other people because you have a known advocate in that account. Social selling gives you the mechanics to reverse engineer social networks like LinkedIn does. So that's the most important thing about social selling is there's frameworks and principles and kind of strategies to it. And tools like LinkedIn enable that strategy. But that's a simplistic way of a case study of how our customers have completely changed their account selection process. There's no more of that subjectivity of saying, I'm going to go after Walmart. Why? Because Walmart's the biggest company in in America. Yeah, but so everyone wants to win Walmart. That doesn't mean you have a good opportunity to win it. And so we help companies understand that there's science behind relationships.
Yeah, that's great. In regards to specifically talking about that process, that system for online conversions, what do you think now? I mean, you laid out what we were doing in 2010, but now how do you think that shifted, and what are the key elements do you feel are really important to make sure that that particular segment of the system is optimized? So for like the biggest conversions, the best conversions.
Well, what we're seeing, and maybe I'll talk about the future state, is, hey, are we perfect? Not at all. I mean, we're learning by the day. But here's where I've seen this transformational shift. It used to be, as marketing automation became more pervasive, and it was all about blogs turning into ebooks and ebooks turning into leads, that was a mindset of what's in it for me, right? So that was constantly, how do I get your data into my database? What I'm seeing the best companies in the world do is thinking about how they reduce the friction of the customer experience, making it so unbelievably easy for a company to learn from you. So companies are investing in like chatbots and live chat, and they are putting out FAQ videos constantly. They're doing anything they can to transfer knowledge to the customer. And what that's done, unlike before, where marketing teams had spent a disproportionate amount of time trying to convince sales and marketing to sales disconnect of trying to figure out, did that lead come from you or did that lead come from me? And it was an argument between attribution and influence. Well, now it's kind of like, hold on, guys, we're all on team revenue here. All I'm going to do is lay air cover for you. I am going to ensure that your total addressable market knows who we are. And we have to believe through leads coming in that it's all about influence. Let's not pick apart what lead came from who. It's just all part of organic growth to our pipeline. So long of the short is, what I'm seeing is companies just backing up and saying, we all play a part in influencing lead flow. Let's now make it super easy for our customers to learn from us, and that will enable them to potentially choose to engage us first before our competition. Fundamentally, why? There's a statistic by Forrester that says that 74% of deals are awarded to the seller that's first to provide value and insight. Forget the seller, maybe that's the company as well. So how do you teach people something they don't already know before your competition teaches them that same idea? So that's the concept.
So yeah, and as I'm noticing, and with the internet in general, there's so many more situations, and it's such a wide open space when it comes to education. And I've worked with a lot of experts and consultants in the sense that, let's get an online program going for you, because oftentimes that's, as you said, that key in to educating people, letting them know who you are, what kind of expertise you are, and all those things. And so when it comes to, there's a lot of between Facebook and Google advertising, and then the kind of the lead page scenario. Have you found any particular platforms that you really gravitate towards? And are you using, Hub?
HubSpot and LinkedIn.
HubSpot, LinkedIn, but there's this huge thing with ClickFunnels now, and I think I think some companies have the budget to put the full scope, the full engine of a sales funnel together, and there's other people that are not quite at that level, or they want to know, okay, what can I make sure that I'm doing really well at, just to get the engine started, so that at that point they can add in these bells and whistles and these automated platforms. So talk to me a little bit about, say you've got a mid-sized company and they want to do bare bones kind of like setup versus, as you add the bells and whistles of automation and things like that. Kind of walk me through that stuff a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll walk it through from my experience in our own business. But we most of our customers are global enterprise, so like Microsoft, Thomson Reuters, Oracle, Intel, and from a social selling perspective, and using their learnings on platforms is key. Where I see a ton of failure is companies think of the problem in reverse. They'll say, I have a marketing problem. They go out and then buy a tool thinking that tools actually solve problems. No, tools are an accelerant to an efficient process and strategy. So there's an old adage, change your mindset, develop a skill set, and then apply a toolkit. That it is fundamentally, as a company who's trained 400 global enterprise companies, I can tell you without fail, if you do it in the wrong order of operations, you as an organization fail. So when it comes to tools, as an example, if you look at data sets of paid, earned, owned media, we have no experience in paid media. As an example, we are 100% only experienced on the organic side of owned, as an example. So from there, we are in the midst of investigating actually acquiring ClickFunnels to put into our business. But at the time, as of right now, as we're recording this, we've shifted from mindset of changing our own marketing strategy to more of a ClickFunnels style. We kind of changed that mindset about a year ago, and we've been actually practicing it inside our existing marketing automation software without acquiring a ClickFunnels to accelerate it. So what that means, and I'll give a real life example of a play, we call them sales plays. So right now, we monitor every chief revenue officer and chief marketing officer who takes a new job in North America that meets our ideal customer profile. We have a team of data analysts who pull that data down from LinkedIn as somebody takes a new job. We put them into our database. We enrich the data. We use a tool called seamless.ai, phone numbers, emails, the whole bit. Then they go into a nurture sequence where we actually congratulate them on their new role and provide them a kit of, it's a website with all kinds of videos and assets for their sales team on the importance of how to prospect, how to accelerate their first 100 days as a sales and marketing leader. And then over the course of the next couple of weeks and months, it continues to teach them along that 100-day journey. Now, what that does is, remember, first person to plant a seed typically wins. We're planting seeds before our competition. Are we doing that through a ClickFunnels? No, we're doing that through our existing marketing automation software. But as it may eventually run its course and we need to accelerate it further, that's when we go get the accelerant itself, the tool. So that's my perspective on how order of operations. First, you got to completely buy into your new style. Two, you've got to practice it manually. Like you got to learn to throw a punch before you get into a ring. Or you got to learn to drive a car on a road before you go onto a track. Then go get a Corvette and hit the track. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Very good. So thank you. You've given us so many great insights today. I really appreciate your time. And as far as what you would say your biggest lesson is in working with online sales funnels and this arena of the sales process, what's one, maybe one or two of your biggest lessons that you've learned?
Biggest lessons is a big mindset shift on mentally gating content. What I mean mentally gating is a lot of companies, think of you've got a company, XYZ. You make whatever it is. And there's going to be this inhibiting fear at first that you say, I can't give away that kind of knowledge. That's our intellectual property. That's our secret sauce on how to make a sausage. It turns out that about 4 Google keystrokes away from everyone knowing everything. So I'm in the knowledge industry. I literally sell intellectual property for a living. So no one understands the value of giving away insights more than we do. And we had to have this big mindset shift to say there is nothing that can't be acquired. So how about we figure out ways to better package it, put wrappers on it for people? How do we make it easier to acquire that knowledge? And then people will realize we must have more hidden under our tickle trunk. And so I would say that's probably the biggest learning. The big one learning is there is no intellectual property that you should be too fearful to share with your customer.
Excellent. Very good. Now, you've got a couple of books here. Social Selling Mastery, Scaling Up Your Sales and Marketing Machine for Digital Buyer, and Spear Selling, the Ultimate Account-Based Sales Guide for the Modern Digital Sales Professional. Let's talk a little bit about your books and kind of, are these things, obviously people can download them from Amazon and we'll give them that option, but do you have any anything that you'd love to just offer in correspondence in relation to these books?
Yeah, ultimately, one book, Social Selling Mastery, was about the principles of becoming a social selling company or a modern digital organization. So it's written from the perspective of being a sales leader, sales professional, marketer, and sales enablement. And it's all broken down into chapters that way. Think of it as fishing with a net, whereas spear selling literally is the analogy of fishing with a spear. So it's about key account modern digital selling. So how do I select accounts, plan accounts, engage, activate, and be objective about running and replacing those accounts? So the reason your listeners would ever come to us is their sales organization is doing things like it's the 1990s. They're trying to make 50 calls a day, blasting out emails, banging their heads against the wall, and they have a eureka moment that there's got to be a better way to do this. And that's, we have a training program for individuals, small teams, and or the global enterprise.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Very good.
Well, I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you again. Really appreciate it. You are one of our special online sales funnel experts. I really appreciate getting on this call with me and being a part of this summit. We will follow up with some links for our audience so they can find you and tap into the things that you're providing for everybody. And obviously, it sounds like you've got a lot of great content to absorb and learn from. So thank you for that. And just want to say, appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you.
Bye.